Flächer werden immer besser.
Es wird immer größer.
Und es wird immer größer. Und auch der Kaffee wird immer besser.
I'm looking forward to it every month.
I love to hear what people have for new, innovative, inspiring ideas. I like the morning format before work. To say I really, really like Creative Mornings.
I'm here because I like to hear people who know more about things talk about them.
And they are always very inspiring.
I feel like really like to see people who is coming every time again.
It's kind of easy. You just there are just a bunch of people visiting it.
Happy birthday!
Creative Mornings.
Ja, alles Gute und Happy Birthday.
Good morning. Thank you for that introduction. It was obviously very well researched to what I would be talking about today, which is Honey, we shrunk your job. So to begin, I would just ask for a show of hands. Who feels that the area in which they work has become increasingly competitive in the last few years? So there's kind of more people competing for less work, and the expectations of your clients are kind of growing. Okay, so it's most people there. I want to talk today about why that might be. Usually my day job is to write funny books about Germany, but today my talk is focused on my most recent book, which is somewhat serious. In English it was called The Freedom Figure, in German it's called Wir können auch anders. Now, I understand that it's Friday and the weekend is basically here, and there were cupcakes, and you don't really want bad news, right? I get that. You didn't really come here for any kind of negativity, any kind of bad news. And so what I've tried to do at any moment during the talk in which I give you bad news or I say anything negative, I'm also going to show you a cute picture of a cat. And I hope that this will keep things on a neutral level. Here's our first cat. I think a lot of people, they see technology as an exclusively positive thing. And I think what I want to try to explain today is that isn't really the case. And that I believe in something called technological determinism, which says that we are not shaping technology, technology is shaping us. And so it is not an extension of us, we are an extension of it. And so new tools like Facebook or Snapchat or Tinder or Slack, they don't help us with the communication problems that we had, they create new communication opportunities for us. And it's up to us to decide if they are positive and how we're going to use them in our work lives. I saw this graffiti recently, and it made me laugh. I get why the person made this graffiti and what they were trying to say with it. They were sort of trying to say that we're kind of sheeple, and all we do is when we're young, we go to university and we study, and then we become a something, and we get a job, and we do that job, without thinking about it until we die. But actually, I think that this is completely out of date now. And that this would be, for a young person coming out of university, actually somewhat of a best case scenario. Actually, our way through the working world is actually much more complicated than this now. The idea that you can just study once at the beginning of your life, get a job, stay in that job, and then die, that's not really a given anymore. Our way through the working world is much more complex. It probably look something closer to this. So you're gonna study. You're going to come out and you're going to look for a job, and you're going to realise that there aren't any, and so then you're going to have to take an unpaid internship, which if you're really good at will become a badly paid internship, which if you're really good at maybe will become a shitty job, and it will give you a burnout, and then you'll get tired of that and you'll become unemployed, and you think maybe I should study again, maybe that wasn't what I picked the first time, is maybe not very good, I'll pick something else, and so the cycle begins again, and it goes around again. And you think, I live in Berlin, maybe I'll try a startup. Everybody else is, I'll maybe make an app for people to share their ponies or whatever. And then the cycle goes around again and again and again. And that could happen 5, 6, 7, 10 times in our working lives, that you're stuck on this loop, on this cycle. And then at the point when you just want to retire and then quietly die, my friends in technology tell me that's not going to be possible either, because the singularity is coming, and we're not going to die anymore. We're going to be fused with machines, and we're going to live in some kind of like matrix hell forever, being forced to take crappy design jobs where we make the logo bigger until the end, for infinity. So a lot of cats on this slide. So I want to talk about now why that might be. Why is the world of work changing so much, and what can we do about it? I think mostly it's because of something called the law of accelerating returns, which is a little bit complicated to explain in the limited time that we have. But basically, the central premise is that disruptive technology is being invented with greater and greater frequency. Now, all of those technologies get to use all of the existing technologies to propagate themselves. And so technologies can reach the mainstream much faster than before. So human progress is not linear, like you would expect, it's exponential. And that this causes great uncertainty within the workplace, and within economies and companies and governments, as we're all reacting to all of this new technology and the things that it obsoletes, and the new opportunities that it creates for us. And as we've already learned, every new technology is as much a problem as it is a solution. And that this uncertainty is passed on to us, usually in the form of shorter and shorter work contracts. So the idea of the 9-to-5 job is kind of dead, and now everything is kind of sort of project-based work. So what's the outcome of that? That's kind of the death of this idea that we used to have of the job for life. That's kind of gone now, and we're continuously needing to retrain. I think almost all of my designer friends rebranded themselves in the last year to become UX designers, where before they were graphic designers. I think this is part of this process, is that there's a kind of commoditization of design, which requires you to become more specialized in order to keep the same hourly rate, which gives you a protection for a time. But that protection is then attractive to people who create technology, who then commoditize your specialism, and you have to again like increasingly become more and more specialized. And it sort of feels like we're on this treadmill, and then someone is just turning the speed of the treadmill up. And you have to keep running faster and faster to stay exactly where you were. And in the beginning, we thought that the automation that this technology offers, it would affect the jobs at the lower end of the job market. It would take the manual jobs away. But what we're actually seeing now is that it's going for the middle of the market, and the jobs are becoming kind of stratified between a few like highly specialized, high value, high paying jobs at one end, and lots of kind of crappy jobs at the bottom end, like manual jobs. And there's not actually that much in the middle anymore. Okay, so we're in kind of a race. Yeah, we're in a race to create new jobs as fast as we obsolete them, to update our laws as fast as technology undermines them, and to invent new forms of governance and taxation as quickly as technology circumvents them. And for a time, sometimes we're winning that race, and there's something like prosperity for the masses, and at other times we've fallen behind the curve of technology, and we have what we've had the last 5 or 6 years, which is a kind of recession. And at the same time, you can read about companies like Apple or Google, which have billions of dollars stashed away in a tax haven like Bermuda. Or you can read about companies like Amazon who are generating massive revenues and profits inside of local communities, but not paying their taxes there because they're shifting them out to Luxembourg. So what can we do about this? Firstly, some solutions for society, and then we'll look at us as individuals, what we can do. There's no more cats coming. It's all good news from here, so don't worry. Unless you like cats, in which case, tough luck. So it's easy to think that our idea of a job, that it's always been this way, but I want to try to explain that that's not the case. Who has to work and the jobs that they're supposed to do, that's always been in flux. It's always changed over time. And can anyone guess what the job of these children was? Any ideas? Mining? No, but you're in some... Nope, they were chimney sweeps. back in 1838. So in the 19th century, we had an entirely different idea of work. So children, there was no childhood like we had now. Children were not a protected species. They had to work, just like we have to work. Elderly people also had to work. There was no concept of a pension. And so while I think that because of technological unemployment, there is a decreasing number of jobs, that's not really a problem. We could celebrate every time a machine replaces a human. If we could accept that not all humans need to work, that entrepreneurs can produce the taxable revenue of, one entrepreneur might produce a taxable revenue of 10,000 citizens, or that one machine could do the work of 1,000 people. But the problem with that is that we have a kind of underlying economic model, which is based on GDP, and that's really hard to change. We've had that model of working for 100, 150 years, and GDP says jobs that create a profit, they're valuable, society counts those, and jobs which don't create a profit, they don't count. That's not a real job. So if you volunteer to help, children or sit with old people in a nursing home or help refugees, that's not a job, because it doesn't generate a profit for anyone. And so that's not good enough. And so it would be great if we could change this underlying economic model, and we have some ideas for how we're going to do that. But we're progressing very, very slowly there. It's a really complicated thing to change because our current economic model is so entrenched in society, and I don't know if we can really change it. Although we have ideas like basic income or Patreon or like Bitcoin and Ethereum and blockchain-related technologies. That's progressing very slowly, and it's possible that along the way society would implode and become some kind of Mad Max state. I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because our morality tends to move much slower than our technology, as expressed here by E.O. Wilson. Probably needed a cat for that slide. See that now? Okay, so what can we as individuals, while we're trying to improve society, we're still going to be left in an ever-changing world of work, trying to navigate, trying to find work, trying to stay relevant, trying to keep up to date. What can we do as individuals? The first thing I want to talk about is controlling our expenditure. I call it the freedom figure. The problem that we have is that most of us have lost control of our incomes now. So our income depends on whether we have found a high-paying project, whether we're retraining. Our income fluctuates from month to month. If that's the case, it becomes even more important that we learn to control our expenditure. And I have a very simple idea for this, which I call the freedom figure. And all the freedom figure asks is that you quantify exactly what your lifestyle costs. And so this is my expenditure. This is my fixed costs. Here are my variable costs. If you add those two together, you get €1,084.84. If I don't earn a single cent more for the rest of this year, I will still have to pay €1,084.84 every single month. Now, the lower I can get this figure, the greater pressure I take off myself for how much money I need to earn. I often get contacted by aspiring authors asking how you can become a full-time author. Well, the answer is this. You must make more than €1,084.84 every month, if that's what your lifestyle costs. And if you do that, you can be a full-time whatever you want. You can be a full-time circus juggler or cupcake artisan. This is what matters. This is what I'm going to have to pay every month. And the goal of the freedom figure is that you try to completely separate your income from your expenditure. So what you can do, the next step, is to separate your finances into two separate accounts. So all of your income is coming into one account, your savings account, which you don't touch, other than to transfer your freedom figure to your current account. And it's from this account that you live every month. So at any moment you can log in and you can see how much money is remaining this month, and you can adjust your lifestyle. And so what's important, or what's the thinking behind this model is that I want to stop that in those months where you earn a lot of money, you spend a lot of money, and in the end you only break even. You try to reward yourself. I worked hard this month, therefore I'm going to spend more money. But what I think it's better to do is to really optimize your lifestyle to need a certain amount of money and don't change it. And then you can have lean months where you're not earning as much money, and months where you're earning a lot of money. you're just saving that money in your savings account. I have no interest in financial planning. I find it boring and completely unsexy. But what I like about this model is it's very easy for me to see how much money I have left. The only reoccurring nightmare that I have is that I have to go back and get a real job again. You know, that I run out of money and I have to become like a middle manager at Siemens, or I probably don't even have the skills to be a middle manager at Siemens, like a low-level serf at Siemens, like a cleaner at Siemens, you know, and this is going to happen if I run out of money, you know, and this is why I like this model, is that at any moment I can log into my 2 bank accounts, I can divide my, you know, the amount in my savings account by my freedom figure, and I know exactly how much money I have left, you know, in months and in days and even in hours if I want them. And this gives me the confidence to turn down those projects that you get sometimes, you know, where you think, okay, the money looks quite good, but the work is awful. Like the work it's soul-destroying, boring work, yeah? And I feel more confident to turn down those projects if I know exactly how much money I have left. Okay, so that's your expenditure. Let's think about income now. It would be great if the world was a kind of like well-calibrated machine, huh? And you could pour in like kind of hard work and talent, and what would drop out of the bottom would be this matching lump of success. Now, that would be fantastic, huh? If it worked that way, but maybe you notice that it doesn't really work that way, and that's why like Adam Sandler is still making movies and Paris Hilton has a bigger house than you. I think, well, what can we do about that? Like how can we work within this unfair system? And if you attend a lot of kind of like freelancer meetups, you're going to hear the same thing again and again. You have to network. You are your network. You know, you have to build a following. And there's a lot of truth to that. When you hear how the people are networking, I don't know, it sort of feels more like spamming. You don't really feel like they're delivering any value with that networking, yeah? And so then you don't want to network because it feels dirty. But networking is extremely important, and learning to market yourself. But I think that it's something more strategic is required. And the best explanation I've seen for that is called the luck surface area, which was defined by Jason Roberts, a programmer, who says, when people become aware of your expertise, some percentage of them will take action to capture that value, but quite often in a way you do not expect. It will be serendipitous, right? And I think this is something also to do with how the working world is working now. Yeah? There's so many new jobs and new weird projects being created that you don't know about. You're maybe not the best judge anymore of what you want to do for the market. Maybe the market is a better judge of where it needs your skills, because those jobs are not going via the front door anymore, they're going kind of by the back door. And so luck surface area says, you can't control what opportunities you get because the world is simply too random and serendipitous, but you can control the number of opportunities that you get. And you do this, so expressed mathematically, your luck surface area is the thing you do well times by the number of people who know about the thing you do well. Now, a lot of people, they focus on one of these two. So I'm sure many of you guys know someone who is absolutely fantastic at what they do. You know, they're working away in isolation, getting really, really good at something. Yeah, but they're usually the sort of people who are not very good at telling anyone about it. So they don't get those lucky breaks. And there are a lot of people on the other side of the spectrum who are really great at networking and building an audience, but they don't really have anything to say. I think that the key for you guys or for me is to always be working on these two things simultaneously. So in my case as a writer, always to be getting better and better and better at my craft, and then coming and doing stuff like this, which introduces me to a lot of new people. Yeah? And so I'm widening both of those things, and I have to trust that work will follow, that opportunities will follow, because the world is too serendipitous for me to attempt to control. All I can do is get better at something and keep coming and introducing myself to more people, and who knows who is sitting in the audience today and how we will work together and how you will make me rich. And in my job now, I'm the guy who writes funny books about Germany. I didn't know that job existed. You know, I didn't know that. Didn't sound like a job to me. You know, that job found me, and I do it gladly and I do it happily. But I don't know. I've done 4 books about Germany now. I don't know if I would do a 5th because it's not really within my control. It depends on the market. It depends on my publisher, and I think that's kind of the way that the things are going now. Okay, so in conclusion, uncertainty is the new certainty. Whoever gets better at uncertainty wins. It's now a core life skill to be able to deal with ambiguity and uncertainty in the working world. Focus on what you should control, like your freedom figure or your luck surface area. Try and forget the rest, otherwise you will go crazy like this cat. If you'd like to explore these topics in much more depth, I would humbly recommend these two wonderful books, which in the English version is The Freedom Figure, the German version is Wir können auch anders. Thanks to those people who let me use their photos. And that's the end. Thank you very much.